This
Working
is
actor.
literally
Right?
so representational of me as a working actor. I have lion makeup on.
Get ready for an unforgettable ride because today we're welcoming the one and only Noah James. You may know him as the disciple Andrew in the global sensation The Chosen, a role that catapulted him into the hearts of millions around the world. But here's the twist. When Noah first joined the show, he didn't know much about the journey of Jesus.
Throwing punches in the boxing ring, lifting those weights, flexing his gaming skills. He does it all, and he's got a killer British accent.
The entire season is wrapped all into those few days. You know, you have Jesus flipping the tables, and then you have what would it be like for the disciples to go home after that? The lifestyle is brutal, and it can be brutal, but it can also be thrilling and rewarding. You just have to sort of engage that side of yourself that's willing to step into the unknown.
Let's give a warm welcome to Noah James.
Whoa! What an intro! I wish I had
Do you
my
have a
uke.
good British accent? Is that
Oh,
that
well,
legit?
now the nerves creep up. Okay, it's funny because actually there are obviously so many different versions of
Yeah,
the
that
British
was gonna be
accent
the next
that,
question.
like, I was in school I went to New York University, and we had a class, an accents and dialects class, and we did, like, you know, received pronunciation, like the Queen's English felt very good at
Yeah.
that. Then we went and did, like, the Cockney accent next, like the historically sort of Cockney. And it was maybe the worst thing I had ever done. And I remember a friend of mine saying, like, we had to do a monologue in class, and I did it, and I sat down, and he was like, wow, man, that's the worst thing I've ever seen you do. And that has not changed.
That
so,
hasn't changed.
you know, we're a little hit or miss here. I was obsessed with Game of Thrones, too, so.
Yeah.
And you try to
We
take
were
on the
all
little,
obsessed
the
with that, yeah.
Yorkshire accent. You know, there's
Yeah.
all sorts
Also,
of stuff
but that's
there.
part of the journey of the actor. You got to fall down a bit,
Yeah, oh,
get
definitely.
right back up, right?
You have to
Yeah,
fail and then succeed, and know when failing is just failing, and it will not turn into succeeding. And then
Don't say that.
there you go. You find
just gotta
your
work
boundaries.
At it. You just
Yeah.
gotta work at it. And congratulations on season 5 of
Oh,
The
thank you.
Chosen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting there. It's, you know, this is a
Yeah.
season a lot of people are looking forward to seeing. For you to take on this role, life changing.
Oh, absolutely. And the fact that, I mean, even at our most optimistic, we had no idea that we would be where we are. And it really is, we went in for maybe 2.5 months,
Yeah.
and that was it. We finished at the Miracle of the Fish in the first season, and then we said goodbye to each other, literally with, like, tears in our eyes, because we really didn't feel like we would be back. We hoped, but how would our little show sort of grow to what it is now? Seemed like insurmountable odds. So to be here speaking with you both about season 5, and that, you know, talking about getting all the way from where we started to Holy Week, which is what season 5 is all about. Unbelievable. I can't even believe I've seen a little bit of it, and it seems surreal, like something out of a dream. Even seeing the things from the Last Supper.
Yeah.
You know, we spent 6 days straight filming the Last Supper, sitting in that same chair, drinking from the same little cup. And so to see it all being put together is really, really, truly surreal.
What's it felt like going from, you know, starting on this series to seeing it just explode into
Explode,
something
like-
so massive in the midst of you guys actually putting it together?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because as we're now talking, we are preparing season 6.
Right.
And so it feels a little bit like time travel every time we do it, because we really dive in. And we're talking, you know, 12-hour days are the sort of minimum. And you're there, you know, for instance, doing the Last Supper for 12 hours. And then, you know, the next day you're going to come in and do it again for 12 hours, and then 12 hours, and then 12 hours. And now I've just read the scripts. Obviously, we're not spoiling anything for season 6. And I was, like, unwell on my couch at home. Could not believe the journey. And we really sort of set it up in season 5. Season 5 does not mince the emotions and everything that leads. Obviously, we are leading towards the crucifixion. And having all of that time with the disciples, it really does feel like you're a fly on the wall and you're watching what would it have been like to be in the room where the Last Supper is happening and what would they be going through as Jesus is saying, I will be leaving soon. And it's a really, really fascinating journey, I think, seeing all the disciples, how they manage their fears, anxieties, emotions of what do you mean you're leaving? That must be a metaphor.
Right.
He can't actually be saying that he is going to be found and taken and that we would be scattered. We would never do that. So you see us protesting that and saying, no, we would never leave you behind. And then you just see us as it all starts to dawn on us. That really is the journey of this fifth season.
Talking about dawn, like, this must have been an emotional roller coaster for you from the beginning to where you are now, and must have changed you as well.
Yeah, definitely. Because, and journeys don't always go in a nice, clean arc, personally and with the character. And so, for instance, just personally with Andrew, we see in the first season, Andrew comes up to Peter, Simon at the time, and says, I've just seen the Messiah. The Romans don't matter. Our taxes don't. Nothing matters. The Messiah is here. Anything is possible now. We're in a new, essentially the world has flipped on its head. But then we see that things aren't as easy. It's not that just because the Messiah has arrived, things are all sunshine and roses. In fact, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
And things get more challenging. Things get more dangerous. And that is something that Andrew never would have imagined. It doesn't make sense. And that really comes to a head now, obviously, at Holy Week. We arrive with the triumphal entry. But there's a lot of people in the city who are not excited to see us and make that known very soon into us arriving. And it's, it's an emotional journey. I'll just say that.
Well, speaking of journey, we want to go through yours
Yeah.
with the photos that we've set up here, so our listeners and our watchers know. The
We always
vibe.
start with your first post ever
first
that we
Okay.
found.
is find your
Sometimes
first
people
post.
archive it, but this is the one we found.
Oh, yes.
know if
I
you
don't
have
do I don't really
okay, you don't.
cultivate or
Do you
archive.
remember any idea what it is, the first one?
I don't. I have some flashing through my mind of like what it could be, but I actually can tell you I don't.
When they flash through your mind, are you like, oh no? Or are you like,
I just am like it. I believe in not over cultivating that stuff. I don't want to sort of parse the things out. It's like it speaks to a time that I was there. So I literally
like
have no
that.
idea. It could just
This
be
is the
me
best.
like
I love that.
well,
I don't
this is-
know.
It's actually a really
Really
nice
cute
one.
photo, yeah.
wow.
There you go.
Man, that I did not see that. But that's so lovely, actually. That's so funny. That's the first thing I ever posted.
Yeah.
This when you scroll down to the bottom of your feed on Insta, this is it. October 15th, 2015. And the caption for anyone that couldn't read it is, this juice box is warm. This is you.
Oh, I was like,
This little
oh,
you,
yes.
I guess,
right? It's because I'm screaming there, holding the juice box. Wait, that's actually really funny that is my caption. You're actually kind of blowing my mind because I didn't remember doing that.
Yeah.
But when I think my first memory ever as a human being was being a little kid and having a juice box in my hand and being upset that the juice was warm. And yeah, and being like, not obviously younger than that, but the fact
Okay.
that I referenced that is that's my first memory.
So
being
what is that photo?
unsatisfied with that. That's on a family vacation to like a lake in Arizona, I believe. One of the few in the desert lands where
Who's
I'm from.
holding the fish?
That is my brother Adam.
Okay.
Yeah, so sibling names here. We have David, Adam, Noah, and Rebecca.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
see if you can sense a theme there.
I got that. Yeah.
Yes, and holding the fish. I don't remember ever fishing as a child, so
Okay.
but clearly I was not partaking in the fishing. I was
Right.
just
You're just
drinking my juice.
your
You
obsession
should
with
send
juice
that
boxes.
photo to your brother.
Well, for sure my mom has sent me that, but that is where I got it, and yeah, wow, that is a throwback.
Yeah.
It's a throwback.
The juice
I love
box was
that.
warm, but you have warm memories of those trips, the family.
I do.
Yeah.
I love family vacations when I was a kid. I think the one that I go back to all the time is when I was in middle school, we went to Disney World and we took a week off school, which was like so lovely.
Yeah.
And we just paraded around Disney World for a week and like no one was there. It was November, so it wasn't a super busy time. And it was really just the family all together in Orlando, you know, doing the Disney World thing, going on the rides like over and over and over again. Yeah, I love those times.
The best, right?
Yeah.
They really are. All right. You get to pick a photo.
Yeah.
Oh,
You can pick whatever you like.
let's do the closest. Wow. Okay.
Aw,
Whoa. That is so lovely.
it really is.
That is obviously the best day of my life. It's when Norma and I got married. Oh, that was so lovely. I believe this is in the middle of our first dance.
What was your song?
We did Golden Slumbers by the Beatles, which is this
Oh,
lovely, like, we wanted to, I'll just keep holding.
Holding.
Well, we actually walked out. We were introduced to the Pokemon theme song. Not my idea, if you can believe that. Norma wanted to do that. But
Wait,
then
the Pokemon song, she wanted that?
she asked for it, and I was like, babe, I don't.
Because
Like
you're
the
a
OG,
fan,
like,
or
gotta catch
we're
'em all,
both
like-
fans. Yeah, the
they're-
like, wow,
Yeah.
I want to be the
What's your
very
first song?
best.
Well, it wasn't.
Yeah.
Now,
Was it?
now I wish it was the Pokemon theme song, kinda.
I could see Carlos doing Pokemon.
Yeah, I think that's kind of amazing. Are you both like, you both have
We're
the
both
love of the same
pretty
stuff?
nerdy. We're definitely of the nerdier persuasion. Like we'll
that.
play games together.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Pokemon theme song, I was like, this cannot be. Do you really want to do this? She was like, yeah, that's what we walked out to, and then we had our actual first dance to Golden Slumbers, which is like this beautiful kind of deep cut of the Beatles. Yeah, but it was we got married in Malibu. At this place, Calamigos Ranch, and it was just so beautiful. And it was funny because when we started planning the wedding, I was like, whatever you want, babe. I you know, whatever. And then she'd show me things. I'd be like, I hate that. And then it became like I do have opinions about the aesthetics of this day. And then Calamigos, she was showing me venues, and I was like, that's not us. It can't. And finally, she got a little frustrated and was like, well, you find a place. And 5 minutes later, I was like, what about this? She's like, I love it. Okay, I guess we have to do that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Do you have, are the memories of the day, of the event, very distinct? I find for a lot of people, because of the responsibilities that you actually have as the couple to all of your guests and to your venue and to all that stuff, it can be kind of overwhelming.
I think that what we did really well is we wanted it to truly represent us as a couple. And so we put so much into the planning of it. We had an amazing wedding coordinator as well, because also we're like not very, it would have been probably a disaster if it was just up to us. But we really wanted it to feel like us. And so I feel like I was so overcome with stress and anxiety. And actually, we were filming The Chosen, and I had given them the date of my wedding like months in advance.
Yeah.
And the schedule kept creeping closer and closer to the date. Yeah. So much so to the point that I was like, you guys, I like have to go. And we got floated out. We had to change the day that we were filming something. And one day Dallas, was like, are you okay? And I was like, super stressed, literally in tears, because it was also during the time everyone was coming down with COVID. Have to kept pushing dates. Right. And then, of course, someone comes down with COVID, and they'd be like, all right, well, they're not allowed back on set for another 5 days or so. Yeah. And so it just kept creeping closer and closer. Final day, we finally, what we say, shot me out. I was done. I fly back, and they're like, you also should be quarantined because there was a close case of COVID. I'm like, oh, no. So we finished planning the wedding with me literally in an Airbnb like 3 blocks away from my wife. And then the day arrived, and we were like running all around. And when we came to the venue and we saw the lovely floral decoration, it was like all of a sudden I just felt like, okay, we've done it. We've arrived. And then it was just, I just wanted to be as present as possible. So I feel like I remember it very vividly. Everything from that moment on, it being like, okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Yeah. And it was amazing.
You guys are having the best time, aren't you?
Oh, it was a whirlwind, but we were having absolutely the best time.
All right.
Let's do it. Next. Okay. Wow, that's me and a lion.
So yeah.
A lion with abs, by the way.
Well, as they all do, right? They must all
lion
have.
So Carlos picked this one. He really
Of
wants to know the
course
story
I did.
behind this.
I am fascinated by this.
I'm fascinated too.
Also,
What-
because
what is going on?
if you do go through your photos, you do like to share the story of like, here I am as a working actor, and sometimes I'm
This
not a working
is
actor.
literally
Right?
so representational of me as a working actor. I have lion makeup on.
Yeah.
Right.
Not just the suit
Not just the
with
suit.
the
The
abs,
whole
but
thing.
there's literally the polka dots on my face and the lion nose. Okay, so so this is actually funny. This was taken less than a month before I booked The Chosen. So I was filming this really fun virtual reality film. It was a film that was going to be shown in virtual, like in a headset.
Very
So
cool.
it was almost like a choose your own adventure, but like a workplace rom-com. And I was the comedic relief of this. I
don't believe it.
Yeah,
That felt
I was
real.
the
That's a serious character.
the
That's a serious
odd supporting the best friend who's a little bit has a screw loose or like a million screw looses and screws loose. And yes, I can't even tell you why I was dressed as a lion, except that maybe in some sort of fever dream, I appeared to the main character. What could I possibly have been doing? But there is a green screen there, so that seems to tell me that I was being CGI'd into this virtual world.
So when you look at that and you look at your world now, landing that job at The Chosen must have been like.
Well, okay, so when I landed The Chosen, it didn't feel all that dissimilar to this because it was a job and I'd be filming it for a month and a half, 2 months, and then it was going to be it. And so this was, I was a week on this film or so, but it didn't have the continuum. I didn't know that
It was
I'd
gonna
be
be
doing
what
it
it was, yeah.
for so long. But obviously, the difference, I mean, I love doing comedic, strange, odd things, but the difference with The Chosen was that I read the script and was really moved by it. And I even told Dallas when I auditioned, it might have been when I went in for the callback, I said, hey, because I didn't know, I had auditioned for The Shepherd, which is the short film that led to The Chosen. And I hadn't seen it. I didn't know that I was like up for that part and could have maybe gotten it. And thank God I did not because I didn't get it, I was able to then be in The Chosen for years. It's like 3 days working with this crew or years. So I'm so like eternally grateful for that. But then I watched The Shepherd after my first audition and was incredibly moved. And I told him, and I said, you had mentioned in the beginning, I said, look, I'm Jewish. I sort of come from outside of this world, but I was like so moved by The Shepherd and moved by these scripts. And he just said, oh, like, thank you so much, man. And I really do feel that way. It is such a wonderful story, and the way that they have crafted it and told it, it is so emotionally engaging, and it feels so authentic. That was something that I could dig into right away because it felt like a true period piece. It didn't feel like, I don't know, like maybe cheesy in any way. It felt like, what would it be like to really follow Jesus 2,000 years ago? Putting up your own tent, not eating enough. A miracle happens right in front of your eyes. How does that change your entire worldview? That is what really hooked me in, and I think hooks the audience in.
Yeah. What was it like for you to see Jonathan for the first time as Jesus?
I was a little nervous at first because I didn't know. You're getting to know all of your castmates, and you don't know how actors can be. We can be a little odd. So you don't.
What do you mean?
Well,
Actors are odd? Are you sure?
We're sort of
I
weird.
mean-
Yeah, exactly. But you don't know how people like to work, and you always want to be respectful of people's process. And so I didn't know if he. I mean, you think about it. You're playing Jesus.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you manage that? That's a lot to take on. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually. How do you deal with that? And so I didn't know what he would be like. And he is and was from the beginning so generous of spirit. When you're filming with him, anything that he can do to help you in the scene or be there with you, he loves to connect, and be really personal with you, as opposed to, you hear stories about some actors who are very cold or distant or don't want to make a personal connection because it could maybe blur the lines. And so he was not that. It was like immediate wanting to make a personal connection, and that was so lovely. And then that really permeated through the entire cast. And so I think because of the way that Dallas and Jonathan led by example, we all really we're all show up for each other.
Yeah.
Like if it's on you, the coverage is on you, it's super important for me to be as present for you as then hopefully you will be for me. And just bring the best out of each other. And Jonathan even showed me, not to get too into the weeds technically, but even when you're filming, he'll go off script. He'll talk to you as your character personally, even if it's not going to end up in the show. Your reactions and your feelings will and can be edited in that way. And he's just constantly in tune and wanting to bring that out of you. It's really a gift.
I have to say, when I met him, I think the video went viral. There was a moment we had this connection, and that's who he is. He gives you that energy, and you feel that energy.
Yeah,
so totally get that.
It is a gift,
and and it's special for you to be working with a team like that.
Oh, absolutely, because that would be pretty brutal to try to tell this story, because that's the thing that's super important to us, is the authenticity of the story. And that means we really try to dive deep. And it'd be very difficult to do that if you were with a team that didn't foster a sense of vulnerability and authenticity, because then you'd feel like you're drudging it up or you're faking it in some way. Like, this is not a team that fakes it. We really try to be there with and for each other.
Was there a moment on set? I mean, you talked about starting the season and kind of being a little bit like, this is kind of like the other acting gigs. I'm not sure if this is going to be around, right?
Sure.
But was there a moment on set where you thought to yourself, whoa, this is the real deal and we're really making something that's going to affect a lot of people?
Honestly, I felt that. This might sound cliche, but I did feel it right away, because sets can be super chaotic. So you have like hundreds of people sometimes all trying to point in one direction, and that rarely happens. You have screaming on sets, you have things aren't happening in the right time, so everyone, the chaos, and then you as an actor just have to sort of create your own bubble, and you're like, I just have to protect my thing. I've been on sets, kid you not, where I go in and they're like, great, all right, signing this in, right this way, blah, 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 and then they go and they're like, great, okay, so we're gonna do your hair now, right? And then I walk into the makeup and they're like, who did your hair? I'm like, what? And then they'll be like swearing at you. They'll be like, what do you have in your, and I'm like, this lovely man, do it. They're like, wash it out right now. And I'm like, what is happening? Then they like put me in a tub and they're washing it out, and they go, don't let anyone, they don't know what they're doing over here. You just pay attention to me. And then I go off on set and they're like, okay, here, now, screaming. None of that on The Chosen. You get there and there's a sense that this story is bigger than all of us. Not a lot of ego on set, truly. Like, you kind of can't. And you would stick out on our set if you came in a little pompous or holier than thou, no pun intended. It would stick out, because they're hard days, they're long days, and if we don't all sort of show up to support each other, it's like, that's not going to work. And I think Dallas created that environment with who he cast, with who he brings on as crew, in the production side of it. Like, you get there and there is a sense of calm, a sense of connection. And when, he says, here we play, not action, here we play, like, let's see what happens in this moment. And we're going to find our way. And it's really a remarkable set. I mean, it spoiled me, I think, in a lot of ways.
Right. Sounds like a dream environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Side note, talking about hair, this is totally, I'm just like, you two have the
same hair twins here.
Address the elephant in the room.
Hair twins,
Like,
okay.
he started talking about the hair. I'm like, dude, the first thing I was like, who has better hair? I don't know.
There's no. We don't listen. Us curly.
He is a We are.
No.
It's
we
more
do
kinship.
this
than
together.
competition.
It's a
This,
team.
you know?
Yeah.
It's a team.
That's really what it is.
Okay, you, me, and Kit Harington from Game of Thrones.
That's
Listen, if we can just all be a team and figure out how to deal with the curls
Yes.
efficiently.
This is the thing. I saw your photo, and immediately it was like, I relate to this man. I relate to
There's
this man.
something about him.
Okay,
Yeah.
how long do you guys spend on your hair? I'm just curious. I know. I'm
Don't
just
ask
curious.
questions you
I
don't want
just-
the answer to.
I
Okay.
want to know.
No, it's. I will say when we are finished filming, there will probably be some kind of cut happening. It's
You're
difficult.
You can't depart from that.
But you listen, when I go to the gym, I feel like people are like laughing at me.
But can't you do,
because
like, a
you're lifting
man
and it's
bun?
like,
Like,
You have
I'm
to-
like pulling it
That's
up.
when you have to tell yourself. It's more self-talk. Like,
Yeah,
no, I
I
look
know.
good. They're looking at me because
But
they,
see, how long have you had
Right?
this hair like this?
This has been since, I've just been going it out. So, no, not really. No. This still feels new.
Talk to me
all
after
right.
5 years.
5 years, yeah.
You talk
I
to
got
me
you.
then, and then you say, because the curls, it does require managing. And if you don't manage it well, which you have managed it very
Sir,
well, it becomes unruly.
Something
but see,
else.
also, you've got the nice fade happening here. I noticed what's happening. The
Right.
undercut, they don't let me
Yeah,
do the
well, yours is
modern.
by necessity as well,
Yes, I
right?
know. I don't even, when they pull it up in the thing, I'm like, can we address the back here too hairy? They're like,
too modern.
No.
Can't
do
Too
it.
modern. Meanwhile, by the way, now that we're talking about hair, I go up every time I show up on the show. They're like, "We'd like it a little longer." I'm like, "Please, no." And then they'll be like, "Your beard must be longer," and I'm like, I noticed some of the disciples have gotten their beards neatly trimmed.
Right.
And yet I show up and you're asking me to be like off in the mountains for longer. Let's, advocate for Andrew getting a little bit more self-care when it comes to
Right.
but no, I feel like Andrew doesn't care, so
He's not
I
really
don't
focused on that, so that you wouldn't, right?
He's not, but
Yeah.
me, Noah, very focused on
Yeah.
it. It's a challenge.
I mean, the
Yeah.
most
Oh,
challenging
man.
thing for me with this is always, and you know this, is I'm like, what? Because it's like having earmuffs on. So when people are talking to me and they're
Dude.
talking loud enough, I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Can you say that again?
I thought you were
AirPods.
just aging. I didn't
Yeah.
know you had to.
No, by the way, AirPods, my AirPod will make noise in my ear because it's like trying to address the fact that there's hair going.
Oh, no, my wife gets annoyed because she doesn't know I have them in because she can't see them.
See, there you go.
So she'll be talking to me, and I'll be like, oh, wait, no, sorry. babe.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not being rude. One
Yeah,
moment,
yeah.
please.
Okay,
Yeah.
flip your guy's hair. Okay,
All right,
beautiful
next one.
hair. All
Let's
right.
do it. Let's go. Oh,
Hey,
cool.
yeah.
By the way, good hair day.
Good
Yeah.
hair day.
By
Very
the
good
way,
hair day.
let's talk about that hair happening with this silver streak. See,
Streak.
you don't have the grays coming in, but I do.
Yeah, the
I've
money.
got
They
it.
look
the money
very
piece.
stately, by the
Oh,
way. It looks
thank
really
you.
good.
Stately.
Honestly, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. Go with it. Go with
This is so cool. Oh, but yes, okay. I'm wearing a band tee here that I like. This is from my music project, Run the Dungeon, which my wife and I are very into electronic music.
Okay.
And I've been making electronic music, and it actually happened during season 4. So season 4 was truly brutal. The conditions of the show were really difficult, honestly. We were in Utah, and we were filming every day in the sun and the heat, but it was really the sun. It was like so bright, and you're like trying to look, and it got really tough. And I'd wake up at 4 a.m., I'd get back to the hotel at, 7 p.m., maybe 6:30 p.m., and it'd be like, run to the gym, eat, shower, go to sleep, still with wet hair, wake up with wet hair, go back in the shower, get ready for set. And so I was feeling like I had lost the ability to decompress or even my own creative sort of outlets. And so I started reading this book, which I absolutely love, and it's called The Artist's Way. It's called The Artist's Way, A Spiritual Guide to Creativity. Cannot recommend it enough. And it's really about reconnecting with your own personal creativity. And you're surprised sometimes in the way that it comes out. I thought it would be with me writing, but all of a sudden I was getting more interested in music, which I had sort of left behind during my gigging days. I would play music at museums. It was one of the things I did to try to survive. And it became like painful for me almost because I felt like Salieri from Amadeus, where he felt like he knew what sounded good, but he himself was not creating that. And that's how I felt always playing music. I was like, I don't like the way I'm singing this. I don't like the way I'm playing it. I know what it should be. But then with the Artist Way, I started being like, what if I got a new laptop? What if I got a MIDI keyboard? And then I fell in love with it all over again. And I'd be in my, office at home, 4 a.m, and I'm like pumping sub bass directly into my ears. And I felt like I could, with electronic music and in your own little, I don't have a studio, but it's literally there. You can just play it over and over, and you can like make things subtly different. And this was an EP that I released of just me. It was almost like me starting out. And I almost didn't release it, but I was like, no, just to honor the sort of beginnings of it. And then since I've been making music, making some, some techno and bass and a little,
I want to give you space for this because oftentimes the reason why I chose this one in particular is not just because it looks clearly like you're jamming out to your music.
I know.
It's a great photo. But also because it's specifically fighting game music.
Yes.
And I want to give you space for that because I'm a huge gamer.
Here we go, dude.
Here we go.
And I never get to talk to anyone about
Where's
my
the
obsessions.
controller, dude? Okay.
Should I just leave? Like,
I mean, you could go upstairs, take a little
take a nap.
Take a little breather.
down.
Let's talk about this. What did you grow up? What was the closest to your heart?
The closest to my heart was Street Fighter.
Okay.
So Street
I
Fighter
know Street
2.
Fighter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
see?
play Street Fighter. Okay.
So
Yes.
I know you love
Yeah.
Smash Brothers, but I wanted to know, like, for you, what was your like deep cut, kind of like closest to your heart, as a good way to put it?
So Smash Bros is the one that I would like go and I'd play competitively.
Yeah.
I would bring my controller to set during season 2 of The Chosen, and then we would wrap. I'd be like, I really hope I'm out of here by 5:30, and I would drive to a tournament in Dallas and like go play. And this was at the time when like the show hadn't really picked up yet, so it wasn't like people were like, dude, what are you doing here? Now that has a little bit changed, where sometimes I'll go and they'll be like, am I like playing Andrew? Which I think is so fun and funny, because then I'm like, and you're going to lose to Andrew too. But I would go and play and I'd get like, 9th out of like 100 people or whatever and do well.
Yeah.
Wow.
Never like quite to the making money portion, but
Right.
I'm like good at it.
Yeah.
And that's always close to my heart. But growing up, I played like Mortal Kombat when I was like way too young to be playing Mortal Kombat.
I think we all were.
Street Fighter was
Yeah.
like big for me. And the sense of the sort of chiptune music, that sort of console, like the sounds where it's a little dissonant and it sounds like a little gaming, music. I just love that. It brings so much nostalgia to me. So
Like, as a dad now, so my kids are 13 and 11, okay? And like, there's a lot of things to be proud of when you have kids, like academic accomplishments, sports, theater, all those things, whatever.
do they know the combos?
The thing I
There
share
you
the
go.
most,
Yeah.
and that I was the happiest to share with my closest friends, was video of my daughter's first combo in King of Fighters.
Wow! King of Fighters too. I feel like a lot of people don't know that.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, we're talking. We're
right.
we're
Going
gamers
deep.
here.
You guys are going
Hair
deep here.
and video games.
I mean,
Dude.
you guys found bros here.
Yeah,
like,
we
I
are
don't know. I can see you
bros.
guys going against each other.
Dude,
with
and
Smash
listen,
Bros.
if you ever play Smash Bros. Online, I say
Smash
this.
Bros is Mario, right?
There
Am I
are
wrong?
Mario. There's it's all Nintendo characters. So yes.
Okay. Yeah, kind of, right?
I
okay.
would literally.
Yes.
This happened at last Chosen
Right.
Con. A mom came up and she had her daughter there, and she goes, this is, by the way, I'm not throwing shade at all. I think this is amazing. Mom was like, my daughter beat everyone in her esports league, and she says that she can beat you at Smash Bros. And I was like, let's go.
Yeah,
I
bring
was
it
like,
on.
what's your
You
online
ready?
code? And then the mom was like, wait, are you serious? I'm like, I'm totally serious. Like, we're going to play when I get home. And so shared the online codes, and she's like, my parents are in the room. We're going to play. She's maybe, I don't even know how old.
10?
But I was like, I want your parents to witness this moment, okay? And rained down destruction,
Yes.
and I had to, claim my territory.
Right,
Like,
you have to
if a
put her in
fan
her place,
says
what you're saying,
they can
yeah.
beat me in Smash Bros.
Wait, how old was she?
I believe she was maybe around, I would guess 18, 17.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like
I
10.
think esports high school could have been esports college. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But I was like, let's do this. And we played for like an hour.
Yeah.
And over Discord, she's like, my parents are laughing at me. And I'm like, no mercy.
No mercy.
There's no mercy. I played a lovely fan, 15 years old, also named Noah. His dad reached out. So listen, if you're listening out there and you think you're good at Smash Bros, you send me a message and we'll put that to the test. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
I love this.
Amazing.
All right, let's
Next,
go 2
let's
more,
do it.
and we're almost
Two
there.
more.
Yeah.
I'll bring this closer for next time. I mean, how could we not talk about The Chosen Last Supper?
Here we go.
Photo by the one and only Annie Leibovitz.
I mean, that itself, you just saying her name.
Yes.
It is sort of
Right?
insane.
It's
Like
insane.
that felt like, talk about surreal.
Right?
And the way she worked, like she is a true artist. That was so cool to witness that. Honestly, I'm so proud of this season. And yeah, we come out, I mean, this says part 2, but we start coming out March 28th, nationwide in Canada and the US. And The Chosen Last Supper, I do feel so proud of this story. I feel so proud of the work that everyone did, because it really is nearing the end of the journey, but it feels like the clock is ticking faster and faster and faster. And so before, where certain seasons would take place over the course of months, this only takes place during Holy Week. The entire season is wrapped all into those few days. I
Yeah.
mean, we're talking about like, you have Jesus flipping the tables, and then you have, what would it be like for the disciples to go home after that? What do they talk about when that happens? What is the vibe? Are some excited about that? Are some freaked out? They don't know what just happened with him. They don't know what the repercussions are going to be. And so you have all these little moments, again, like being a fly on the wall, of these interstitial in between the Bible moments that we know. And then, of course, the big ones that we do know, which are very present, and the Last Supper being the glue, I think, to the season, really.
What kind of questions do you get when you see fans? Do they talk about the show? Like, do they ask about
Honestly,
the Bible? Like, what are those conversations you have?
honestly, I would say the through line when it comes to that is almost always they immediately just express gratitude for the show, and they say thank you for the show, and that it's been there for them maybe during difficult times, or maybe not difficult. It just has been something that really connected with them and connects their families together, or they watch it in groups. That's what I get. I get people being like, I watch it with a group every Sunday, at 8 p.m. or something like that, or my family sits down and watches it together. And that's so cool to know that you're a part of something that really connects
Ritual,
people
right?
and connects people to this story. It really, that's, as an artist, it's like, what more can you want? That is so cool. And that I feel like is the main thing that people bring up. It's just to say thanks.
What was it like on this particular set for this photo? Like, what did you take away from the way Annie works?
Okay, what was really cool about it is it almost felt like an actor who's improvising. So they set it all up. There are stand-ins at first. She essentially choreographs it to be like how you're all, and then as soon as you get in, she'd be like, wait, I really like the way your hand is. I really like, okay, move the shawl. So there's a lot of movement happening in the photo. And so she's essentially like being creatively inspired by what just your presence in the moment. And for, us like sitting and so she'd be like, oh, that's great, right there. And so it was again, it would be like I watched her come alive as she was being inspired aesthetically or by a movement. She loves movement in her photos, and so there was the like Beyonce hair blowing device there. I guess it's a leaf blower, that is being pointed directly at my face. But they're just like really want to capture a sense of movement and life. And that was so cool to witness that.
So did it feel like a collaboration, like a real collaboration?
Oh yeah, and it felt like a whirlwind.
Yeah.
It felt like the photo was happening in between us and the camera. It didn't feel like it was like pose and now the camera is going to capture something. It felt like it was happening in communion, which was like that. I mean, that's what you love when you're acting with someone.
Right? Like this
Yeah,
is
it
just
is.
stunning.
No, it's
Like the
Such a great
details
photo.
it's
It's
pretty
gorgeous.
It's telling a story, right?
I'm so like thankful to be included in that and to be a part of a
You need to
show that
frame
gets
this.
Oh yeah, I know.
For
It was a
real.
cool thing to send to my parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check
But
it
I
out.
mean, the composition, obviously, it's to be looking like a painting, right?
Yeah.
But it's phenomenal.
Right.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. That's a good pull there. And this is the final pull.
The final one?
Final
All right.
pull.
The lion me is. Okay. Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. That was insane.
So what are we looking at?
Okay, we are looking
This moment, what is it?
we are looking at the one and only Bear Grylls.
Uh-huh.
And then me, which being even able to say that is so insane. I don't even know that I'll just say we're out in the wilderness. We're out in the wild, so to speak.
Yes.
And listen, I did an adventure with Bear Grylls. I can't believe I said that. We don't exactly know when that will come out, but when it does, I will be so excited for people to see what we all did together. This photo, and again, not to spoil anything, this photo happened after a sort of momentous experience during our time together that was truly humbling. I feel like I'm adventurous. I like traveling.
Yeah.
I'm not too. And he had me doing something that honestly was like a shock to the system. I was really surprised at how scared I was. Like, I was like, okay, this is not something I'm used to. And he really pushes you out of your comfort zone. But in doing that, you get to open up in a really lovely way. So, yeah, The Chosen in the Wild. Listen, when it arrives, it will definitely be something to watch.
Do we know when it's coming out?
We don't.
We don't.
Yeah.
We don't. It's a mystery at the moment, but when it does, please, believe me, it's an adventure. And I think what people don't even maybe give Bear credit for is he's an incredible just human being and an interviewer, and just he's right there with you, and he does everything you do. Like he really wants to get to know you. So you feel that connection. It's not just like, okay, see you later, and like kick you out of, like off a mountain. It really is.
He takes you on a journey. He better not kick you out.
He
You're
does take you on a journey.
What are some of your fears?
Deep water.
Me too.
Man,
I
what
hate
is that?
water.
Like, come on.
I know. I have a fear of water, just in general water.
Oh,
I can't get in an ocean. I can't.
Okay,
I
but
can't,
the shower is not scary.
No, what shower's
It's like
fine.
ocean, lake.
Yeah.
But not lakes are kind of weird because you're like, it gets so cold so quickly, and you're like, what is lurking in the depths? But the ocean is just like talk about a force of nature. And every once in a while, like I'll get on the wrong side of TikTok, and it will just show me like, here's a cruise almost getting taken down by massive wave, and I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Yeah, they know.
It knows you.
It does.
It's your algorithm, and it knows you.
It's like I want to engage you by scaring the life out of
frightening
you.
What's
life
your
out of
fear?
you. Well, it's not deep. I love water.
Really?
I want to go. I've never been diving. I want to go diving.
That to me is like my worst.
Yeah.
Me too.
God, what happens when you're down in the depths?
I don't know.
Okay,
I
here's
just
the
wanna see
thing.
it.
Not only do you not have oxygen, obviously, but then if you come up too quickly from being down there, you die.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're like, oh, I'm out of oxygen, let me go to the surface. They're like, not so fast, because you'll die.
Well, you know what? I don't know.
You get bubbles in your blood.
We're trying to convince you this
Bubbles
is a fear.
in your blood? Dude, we're
I'm-
not meant to be down there.
I'm trying. So my wife has the same fear.
Okay.
She doesn't like open water.
no.
She doesn't like deep
Reasonable.
water.
No.
Right. So she's your people. She's
our people.
You guys get her. But over the years, we've been slowly sort of like peeling that back a little bit.
Yeah.
We did a trip to Hawaii together. This is a long time ago now, and I was shocked because she booked us a trip out to a reef where I got to go snorkeling, and she just stayed in the boat like this. Like with her arms crossed and just like, I'm not leaving. But I was so proud of her for getting out there. I think baby steps.
Baby steps. I have snorkeled before in Hawaii, and I actually scared myself because while I was snorkeling, I was making a sound with my breathing, and I thought the sound was just a shark.
So I feel like it's never gonna happen.
And I
to
would
you.
be like, it was like a dog getting scared of its own tail. I was like, what was that? What was that? And like that created more noise in my
and then you
breathing
started sucking
apparatus.
water in, and then it was a disaster.
And I was like, I'm
But that
on the
baby
verge
step,
of death.
you got in the water. You actually did it. It's
Well, I
good.
can get in the water, and with snorkeling, I can see, and I'm not too deep. It's
Okay.
the diving aspect would freak me out. And I'm from Arizona. Like, look.
Oh, yeah.
It's a desert, okay? Too much water is a little spooky.
What is something that you would tell an acting student that you've learned in the process of filming this that you never would have learned when you were in theater school?
Okay. So I would say, truly, the biggest marker of whether you will have a career in this industry is, can you manage the downtime mentally, emotionally? How do you deal with the lifestyle? Because a lot of it is about, how do you act the scene? Let's work on some Hamlet. Let's do King Lear. Let's do a commercial. No. You need to be really good at those things. But how do you do when it's been a year and you haven't booked a job? How do you do when then finally you get an audition and it's been 6 months and you're like nervous to send the tape in because you're like, this is the one audition I've got. And if it doesn't go the way, all of that stuff, you really have to get a handle on, because if you don't, it's very easy to fall off the deep end, and that's a scary place to be.
Yeah.
Because once you leave theater school, no one's calling you at 9 a.m. to be like, have you arrived to work? Like, it's up to you. Are you showing up for yourself creatively every day? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you, I'm a big proponent of therapy. I'm a big proponent of having a support system, because you need to set yourself up, because then when the moments get tough, you really want to be able to handle it. Because I have known lots of amazing actors, and a lot of actors end up leaving the business, which, fair enough. You don't have to stay, but they leave because they're like, the lifestyle is brutal. And it can be brutal, but it can also be thrilling and rewarding. You just have to sort of engage that side of yourself that's willing to step into the unknown. I won't sing the song. Into the unknown.
Don't tempt
but
her.
you do have to
Don't
be
tempt her,
willing
'cause she
to
will.
walk
I know.
into
Well, let's just
yeah,
sing.
yeah.
I
unknown.
loved it.
No,
He
okay.
won't let me say.
Yes.
He had to deal
You
with the
can.
10 years.
Into the unknown.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Chosen. I mean, what does it mean to you?
The Chosen is something that will always have that special place in my heart as not only the family of people. I don't see it as a TV show, because I see it as my life, as the people that I love, as the family and friends that I've made over the past, 6 years, and will be, hopefully, if all goes according to plan, a few more years. I see all of that. Even when I watch a scene, it's not just that scene. I watch the 40 times we did that scene. I watch all the moments that came up, that we laughed about, that we cried about. That, to me, it's all there. It's a huge stew for me, and the fact that it completely changed my life, and that I was really, struggling as an actor before The Chosen, and it just gave me, I feel like, a new lease on life as an artist, as a human being. I'm just so grateful, so fortunate, and it never ends. During COVID, a lot of productions had shut down. We were able to keep going. We were able to figure out a way. How do we keep telling the story? During the strikes, we went right up. We were the first production to get the interim agreement from SAG in the US to allow us to film the last 2 weeks of our show. So when the industry was really going through it, we were able to keep working because of our relationship with SAG, and because of the relationship with the show being like, we want to treat our workers as well as we possibly can. That is so cool and so rare. They really lead by example, and I'll take that with me to all the jobs afterwards. I want them to feel like that, and all of the workers and cast and production deserve to be treated with that respect and like that kind of family. It may never reach that level that The Chosen has sort of cultivated, but that's certainly the goal.
I have to say, I love the show. And when I first was introduced by a friend of mine, Laura, she said, you have to watch this. And I was obsessed. I think I was watching it all night. And I learned so much. And you feel the emotions, and you feel the gratitude. I think that's the right word for it. So thank you for making a show
so
that
great.
incredible. And
I'm so glad to hear that.
Can't wait for season 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9, 10.
Unfortunately, not that. Unfortunately, not that.
I'm trying.
Yeah, there's source material we want to
we kinda
stay
have a
as
blueprint
close
of
to
the
as we
story.
possibly can.
Yeah.
So, but really, when I think about season 5, it is fitting that it's called, The Chosen, The Last Supper, because that really was the thing that tied it all together for me was the experience of going through that entire Last Supper. Man, once people see it, I feel like there will be so much to talk about, not spoiling anything. And of course, everyone sort of knows the general gist of what that will be, but I think to see it on the screen and see everyone truly going through what that meal would have felt like, what celebrating, quote unquote, that, moment would have felt like, it's something.
Something. You're something. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you
man.
so much. This was so fun. What a fun
Go
deep
play
dive
Smash
into my
Bros
life.
now, guys.
Yeah,
Go
There
do
is an
wash your
arcade
hair,
downstairs.
whatever you guys want to do.
Listen, and if your kids ever take up Smash Bros. And you guys are playing online,
Can you teach me? Maybe I should.
shoot me a
learn.
message, but there is no mercy.
There you go.
My son's pretty good.
Okay,
My son's
there.
pretty good.
See, I
Yeah.
can
Yeah,
learn.
we'll teach some combos. All
go.
Yeah. And you, if you're ever playing Smash Bros, I'll see you,
All right, Chad.
Is that an invitation?
dude.
Yeah.
Always open forever.
It's a community.
Yeah,
Oh,
it
good
is.
gosh.
It's a community,
It's a
man. You gotta
community.
get with it, okay? Gaming community.
Right on. Thanks,
Thank you
man.
both
Thank you
so
so
much.
much. Thank you.